The opening shot was Cody his suit entering the arena, smiling, wheeling his bag, and within 10 seconds, Brock Lesnar just gloms him and beats the out of him for 1 minute, so bashing him off every wall and door and equipment case. And it looked great. I'm not saying there was anything fake about it in terms of the physicality involved. Here's the thing, my God. Brock's if this was in any way legitimate, can't they figure out some way besides doing the same thing they've already done? And they are changing on this program. We're going to find out. I think they may be listening because there wasn't a lot of, and they go 2 minutes to break. They reformatted their show. There were a couple of matches, didn't have any commercial break at all. They're doing some things different. But my God, the buildings have security cameras. The guard shacks that you have to pass through have the same thing. A camera can be set up to do a backstage interview and the tape is rolling when you there's all kinds of things they can do, but there is a visual television camera 10 feet in front of Cody Rhodes, and Brock picks that time to attack him and beat him up for 1 minute straight with no yelling from anyone. He was just waving to people. No yelling. No, come here, come here. People are fighting. No, nothing. You see what I'm saying, Brian?
I do, and I had a similar thought later in the show with Cody. I'll say it now. It actually hit me during the Apollo Crews promo. I was like, Apollo Crews is in good shape, pretty good in the ring. They never use him right. And then I was just, whatever it was, it made me think of Dusty. And even Hogan. I mean, with Hogan, it was Vince doing it. With Dusty, it was Dusty, doing it. But the baby faces had friends.
Yes.
It wasn't crazy, like something bad would happen and Hulk Hogan got attacked and you see Coco Beware or someone trying to help him. He's not in that league, but he's in that locker room. And with Cody, it hit me with Apollo Crews. I was like, you know what? It would be nice if when something happened with Cody, someone like this ran out there to help. Not just help, but there was a difference. Everyone didn't just run out to help. It was someone ran out to help. Other people were running to cover the guy up, and someone put their arms up no, stay away. There was a whole thing that would happen that doesn't happen anymore.
Some level of panic amongst people from friends of the victim or just bystanders that work there and are trying to intervene in a goddamn situation. I know people go, well, it's Brock Lesnar. Oh, goddamn. You could yell, stop, my God, somebody call 911.
Man, if anything happened to Dusty, all those guys, Manny Fernandez, Magnum, whoever it was at that moment, they're crying. They're they don't know how to deal with their life going forward because Dusty's been hurt.
Remember
There's never any of that with Cody.
The panic when Jimmy Garvin is telling Precious, get the keys. And they're putting Ronnie and his face has been set on fire and they're putting him in the back seat of their legitimate fucking little piece of shit fucking mid-sized car because the Garvins were careful with $1 and taking him to the hospital. Actually, they took off out of the parking lot and went around the building, but nevertheless, there was panic. It was you go back, you get the keys, you go back, whatever. But anyway, that's the thing that Cody needs. I think it would help everyone else on the roster too if it was a little more clear cut like that, and some people will get the rub, but there's never any of something bad happens and someone's friends run out there to help. The Garvin thing you bring up is a great example too. Jimmy Garvin, the heel, running out there to help his brother meant something. Jimmy Garvin, the heel, going through all the baby faces that were out there to help Ronnie Garvin already left an impact. Well, and then there was a subtle little thing also, if you want to examine that a little bit further before we get back to this, is that when they took Ronnie back through the people to his locker room, that was the locker room that the good guys came out of. There were two distinct entrances, one for the baby faces, one for the heels, or as the fans would say, the good guys and the bad guys. They took Ronnie, as all the other baby faces were carrying him, but Jimmy was with him. They took him to the babyface locker room where you saw Everybody there was in their locker room, and they set Ronnie down on the floor. And then Jimmy, who's fully dressed already in his street clothes, freaks out in front of the camera, turns around and runs and goes through a side door and goes through this dark area, which was the place they pulled big vehicles up in the Charlotte Coliseum, and then busts into another door. And there in that locker room are all the heels, the Midnight Express and fucking Tully and and Arn and J.J. Dillon.
It's where he would be. It's his locker room.
It reinforced also the thought in everybody's mind. It is what we've heard true. Are they all in the same locker room? No, they're obviously in different ones in other sides of the building. And here's this one group of people that are all obviously aligned with each other or friendly. And there's this other group of people. And because Jimmy knew exactly where to go, because that's the one he had left. He's a heel, but now he knows exactly where to go to get even with these fucking people. And it showed it to the fans without that being the reason. We're going to show you these are two separate locker rooms.
And again, to go back to the example and applying it to Cody, actually to go back to the angle, you burn Ronnie Garvin, he doesn't just lay there for minutes alone in pain. Right away,
No.
Other people are panicking. How are we going to help this guy? We've never dealt with a burnt face. How do you deal with this? Here, put a towel over his face. I mean, I don't know why that's the solution to everything, but everyone in there is doing something. Baby faces are coming out to help. There's never I don't know. There needs to be more of that, I think.
Well, then should we go? Let's skip ahead. We'll go back to the chronological viewpoint of Raw in a second. Let's skip ahead to the 9 o'clock hour, which is the next time that we get some update, I believe, in my notes, or get some advancement of this whole thing with Brock and Cody. 9 o'clock hour comes up, and Muhammad Ali is at a backstage promo where he's rambling.
Oh, this was great.
About all of his failures, and he's failed so many times, but he's still, I don't know what the fuck it
This was so great, because I want to give this guy a chance. We always see him, and he's doing the promo. He's about to have this big match with Gunther in Saudi Arabia. This is his chance to do the serious promo. So I figured they're going to give him the serious promo. And he's like, you guys have all seen me. I'm paraphrasing. You've all seen me as a joke. And I know I can do better. And all of a sudden, Brock Lesnar just walks in and treats him like a fucking joke. That was hysterical. I feel bad for the guy, but that was great.
Well, now just describe the scene for those of you lucky enough to have missed this. The camera is at the backstage interview position, and this guy, again, he's talking about everybody's seen me as a joke, but now it's my big chance. And he starts talking about how after all of his failures, he finally gets somebody to take him seriously, or a moment of redemption or whatever. And suddenly this big blurry blob comes in between the camera and him, and it's Brock that's just walked right in front of him, right in front of the shot, stops and says, "Hey, kid, get a life," and then just walks to the curtain. And that's the end of his promo. And Brock is coming out. And there was one thing also, as he comes through the curtain and the people see him, there was no music yet. And I thought, this is great, because Brock has busted an interview and is now coming out for an unscheduled interview with no music. But then the music started when he was he'd been out there for 5 seconds. I don't know.
Well, he waited for it. You could tell he was waiting for it to hit.
I think it was a mistake, and I wanted it to be an unplanned, impromptu, I'm taking over the show, and it'd be most believable for Brock to do that. And instead it became, we forgot he was shitting on Muhammad Ali, and we forgot to hit the button. But anyway, Brock's in the ring at 9 o'clock for a promo, and he said, "What do you want to talk about?"
He didn't even beat up Ali. He just insulted him and walked off. We've seen him beat up just random people and throw them on the furniture and shit. He just insulted him and walked off.
Well, he had to go. He had to talk. And like I say, he did Cody's line, "What do you want to talk about?" But his story here, and Brock is better when he's fired up and slobbering with the gig head and the fucking black eye when he was choking Cody and screaming, "I'll kill you," all that shit. But he got the point across here. in that Cody's not going to be out tonight or at Night of Champions either. And I'm issuing an open challenge to anybody to fight me on Saturday. Just step out and step up, whatever the case. And here comes Dusty. I mean, Cody.
Cody, Jesus.
Well,
nice try.
I mean, here comes Cody with a sling, with an ice pack on his shoulder. He's got his arm in a sling. And there's Adam Pearce, the authority figure, said, please, no. And the referees are going, no, no. And Cody will not be stopped. And he's going to the ring. And he gets in the ring. And you can see, the reason I said Dusty is because you can see John Wayne in a movie, right? And I can hear Dusty laying this out to the heel and that he would be working with, right? If I'm back in the fucking Spartanburg Memorial fucking auditorium locker room in 1986 and we're doing a TV angle. And Dusty would be saying the heel, whoever he is, right? Is it fucking Flair hit him with a baseball bat or whatever. And Flair, you're crowing. Is that I'll defend the title against you, Magnum. I'll defend the title against the Road, anybody. But then out I come. And I got the sling on, baby. And I got the sling on and the ice pack, and Tommy Young, you're hanging on my back. And Earl Hebner, you're hanging on my back. And I'm saying, I'm coming for you, Nature Boy. And they're dragging me down the aisle. And just as soon as I get in the ring, think about it this way. John Wayne in some fucking movie. I don't know all the John Wayne movies, but Dusty would have fucking illustrated the one of the 475 movies that John Wayne shot in his career in Hollywood, where he had his arm in a sling and was one arm down in a gunfight against a guy with 2 6-shooters. And John Wayne would step out there at high noon and he'd pull that sling off, baby. And he'd say, I may not have 2 good arms, but I still got 2 of them, so give me your best shot. This is a Dusty angle. Cody gets in the ring and he takes off the sling and he takes off the ice bag. And no matter what happens, he's gonna fucking fight with one arm. And then Brock charges him and takes him down. He gets a double wrist lock and breaks his arm. And not only did he double wrist lock it, and he held it a while and then gave it the little jerk that indicated that would have been the snap of the forearm, even though, I mean, obviously they could not work Cody's forearm flopping around like a wacky waving arm inflatable tube man. And, you know, unfortunately, we've seen enough cell phone videos now to know that sometimes that happens. But then he let it go and got up and stomped Cody's forearm and left. So for purposes and not to spoil what's going to go on or be said later in the program, but it appears that Cody's forearm, the rumors are going to start in the locker room here real soon that it was broken. And at that point I said, okay, a broken arm is Cody's out to lose at Night of Champions and make it 1-1, in which case this program is not over on Saturday. Your thoughts?
I didn't think there was any way it was going to end Saturday just because I don't think it's going to end at Saudi Arabia. It was really good. I was into it. This, I mean, you said you acted it out, the whole Dusty Rhodes comparison. This was the most Dusty-like night of Cody's run so far.
Yeah.
The entire show. And again, no one who's his friend comes out there to help him. That's one of my big complaints about any of this stuff, but really, really good. And, you know, after he got beat up in the back, you're left thinking, how the hell's he going to have this match at Saudi Arabia? Now everyone's like, I'm not a doctor, but his arm's broken.
Yeah.
So I guess, like you said, that's the out, and then you get to the third match at whatever the next pay-per-view is, and the question is, do you make it a stipulation match, or do you just do a match? What do you do?
Well, hold on before we get there.
Okay.
Because we still got to get to the end of the show, because now later on, Adam Pearce is on the phone, and Cody, the news is being reported that Cody won't let the doctors look at his mangled arm, was the quote. And he doesn't want any help, which then they go later on to his locker room. And Cody screaming, I don't need it. This was at the end of the show. I don't need any help. And in walks Triple H. And he sits down. And they have the serious talk. And at least, again, you know that when Pierce was on the phone, obviously he was on the phone with Adam Pierce, and you know that, or
With
obviously
Triple
he's on the
H.
phone with Triple H. And you know that, honestly, Cody had to, if Triple H didn't volunteer, if it wasn't written that way, Cody would have insisted. And everybody knows I love Adam Pierce. He's a good friend of mine. Loved working with him. But since Adam is out there adjudicating the minor mishaps and things amongst the girls and the shoosh boy and alpha academies of the world, and is, basically called upon to do all the contract signing and everything, this needs to be big. This needed a step up in terms of not just star power, but importance in the company. This is now over and above the normal boundaries of regular angles that we do to give it more importance, right? So Triple H had to come in and be the one to talk to Cody and say, I need you to get medical attention. I can tell that your arm is broken and you can too. And you're afraid if the doctor looks at you, you won't be cleared to wrestle at Night of Champions. And he gives him the pitch, but then in a very professional way. But Cody ends up hitting him with, what would you do? And he says, I'm going to fight Brock Lesnar at Night of Champions. And here's the thing. Since it is the forearm, that's entirely doable. Because I know somebody's going, how could he have a whole match with one arm against Brock Lesnar or whatever? But you can work the match around a broken forearm. You can't work a match with a broken leg, although I saw Lawler do it twice and in a cast. But you can't work a match with a broken leg, and you can't work a match if your upper arm was broken. But it actually has been done with legitimate broken forearms before with a cast from guys who in the territories couldn't afford to take off, or the territory couldn't afford them to. So they'll be able to get around this, but this, I believe, now will be Cody's out, obviously.
What did you think of the interplay between Cody and Triple H? This was the most emoting and acting Cody's had a chance to do. This was almost Bloodline-esque in terms of how dramatic it was. And again, what do you think of their performance here?
I think they have obviously both of them the star power, and you've got Triple H was a top guy in the previous era. Cody is now, but since everybody mostly watching these days is also smart to the behind the scenes, they know that Triple H is the heir apparent. We'll see what happens, and is high up in the food chain there. And they know also that Cody has been the rebel and helped start the opposition. So there's on-camera tension, maybe of the kind that they used to have when the top guys were really at odds with each other, but they still can work together professionally. So I think it's good to see Triple H and Cody on camera in the same place, occupying the same space, and interacting with each other. I like that.
Yeah, to me, the facial expressions were really the story. When Cody was looking down and Triple H almost with admiration is looking at him, a little smirk, gives him the pat on the knee, but the show goes off the air with, I think you could only say, a scared Cody.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Dusty would show fear also, because he's a realist and he knows what lays ahead of him, but he's still got to do it anyway.
You know what Dusty did better than anyone else? Just scream. Like, he could just scream. Sometimes you didn't know what he was saying. Sometimes it was the name of the person who beat him up and bloodied him up.
Yeah.
But no one just like, Tony! No one screams anymore.
And even with a lisp, you still got it. But anyway, so that was the Cody and Brock extrapolation of the events that happened. And then everything else was there for the most part. There was a couple of points, but